The Last Supper is a black comedy that was released in 1995.
Yeah, it centres around a household of 5 postgrad students who all share sort of similar political views. They're all what you class as liberals, and they basically have a guest over every Sunday evening for dinner and discuss anything with politics, current events, things like that with them. As the film opens, one of them, his car breaks down and he gets picked up by a guy in a pickup truck who drops him off, and they invite him in for dinner because their planned guest has cancelled. He turns out to be ex-military. He's a bit of a patriot, but also a bit of a racist. He comes out with the phrase "Hitler had the right idea." And, obviously, them being liberals, the dinner goes downhill from there, which and results in them stabbing him in the back, shall we say. I mean, not unprovoked, he does grab a couple of them and break an arm. This then gives them the idea that perhaps they could continue to do this and rid the world of people who may be objectionable. They imagine meeting Hitler as a young man and ask each other what they would do in that situation, whether they would kill him or...
Yes, if you knew that Hitler was going to do what Hitler did, would it be acceptable to off him before he does what he did?
What would you do? And that's, they eventually managed to convince each other that what they did was good because he was a bad guy, he was racist and Nazi sympathiser, etc. So they then invite people over who they think would have similar unpalatable views, shall we say. And they drop some arsenic in some wine, and when they've had enough of what they're saying, offer them a little sip of it.
Yes. So it was directed by Stacy Title. Previous to this film, she was actually she became the youngest woman to be nominated for an Oscar for a live-action short film called Down on the Waterfront. She hasn't made many films since this. She does screenwriting and other things, but she directed a horror film. I think it came out this year or last year called The Bye-Bye Man. I haven't seen that. And there was another horror film which has Snoop Dogg in it. I haven't seen that one either, I'm afraid, so I can't talk about those. But the cast features with 2 kind of sections to the cast. There's the 5 liberals.
Yep, you've got the grad students. You've got Cameron Diaz in there. This is actually her next film after The Mask, so quite a different choice there. And then you've got Ron Eldard, who you'd recognise him. Been lots of stuff. Probably a couple of the most famous ones would be Super 8 and Black Hawk Down. Then you've got Annabeth Gish, who, again, done loads of stuff. She's been in loads of TV programmes. I think most famously possibly is X-Files, where she took over once David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson exited in the latter couple of seasons, playing a character called Monica Reyes, along with Robert Patrick. And you've got Jonathan Penner, who not done a lot of stuff. He's married to Stacy Title, as it happens. He did, he's done some TV shows, but he's also been in all of her movies, so they obviously get on well. And lastly, you've got Courtney B. Vance. Again, he's been in loads of stuff. You'd recognise him straight away. Just off the top of my head, Humphrey October. He was in the last Terminator movie, Terminator Genesis, who playing Miles Dyson, and he's also cropped up in the new Mummy film that was out recently with Tom Cruise. So those are the five grad students, and then you've got obviously the guests, some of which are quite famous faces.
There's Bill Paxton. Bill Paxton's the first guest that was mentioned earlier on. I don't need to go through all of his movies because he did so many. Sadly, passed away at the beginning of this year. Although he was filming Apollo 13, I think he took a weekend break to come and film this one. Other guests, there's Mark Harmon. Mark Harmon's done loads of, again, mainly TV work. He's
done a lot of NCIS. I don't know how long that's been going, but it feels like a long time.
Yeah, and he also played a really good version of Ted Bundy back in the 80s, like a 3-hour-long TV movie, which is pretty good and worth checking out. Very dark. Then there's Jason Alexander in there from Seinfeld. Yeah. There's also Charles Durning. Charles Durning, he passed away a few years ago, but he's another actor. I don't need to mention all the films he did because he did hundreds in the last 40, 50 years or so.
On the TV, in the background through some scenes, you've got a sort of shock jock TV presenter played by Ron Perlman, who, whenever he's on the screen, he's saying something controversial about feminists or gay pride and things like that. Yeah, and he's sort of a counterpoint through much of the film in the background. But yeah, anything with Ron Perlman in is instantly 50% better, in our opinion.
And there's also a weird cameo from someone.
There is, yeah. And
Strange.
we've also got Elisabeth Moss, who, again, has been around for quite a long time. She's been, acting since she was very small. But she's recently, her star is on the rise, considerably, thanks to being in The Handmaid's Tale recently, a big hit TV show.
She's only in this as a photograph.
Yes, her role is in a photo, but she's in it.
Yeah.
So there you go, a little factoid for you there.
Yeah. There's also Nora Dunn, who plays a policewoman.
Yes.
In there,
How could we forget?
without going into too much detail, and she's another one who's done a lot of TV stars in this.
There is actually, yeah.
So that's pretty much, that kind of covers most of the cast. There's also the music, the soundtrack. There's a composer, a guy called Mark Mothersbaugh. He's famous himself. He was the lead singer of the post-punk new wave band Devo, famous for songs like Whip It and things like that. He does the score. Then there's a few bands on the soundtracks, Casey and the Sunshine Band. I think the film opens with I Am the Boogeyman.
Yes, it's not a film. It's not a film for everyone, I don't think. You've got right-wing people and liberals in there. So if you are, on either end of that, I don't know. Maybe you might get a bit pissed off with some of it. But I think if you can just take it as what it is, a comment on the battle between those two sides. I think you get something out of it. I think even though it's over 20 years old, it feels very relevant now, especially. It's like the housemates are in their own little echo chamber, so to speak, like we all seem to be now. If you're on Facebook and Twitter, you're bombarded with stuff that you tend to agree with all the time, and they just bounce off each other and agree with everything that each other says all the time, and that's how they get to this situation where they think killing these people is okay, even though they're supposed to be liberal and against anything like that. So yeah, it's an interesting look at that.
I think this film is clearly about the script. It's a good script. There's some very good moments in it. Specifically, the actual conversations between the guests and the flatmates.
It's a very 90s movie. I think around that period there was a surge of indie films, thanks to not only to Tarantino but in large part to him. There was definitely a lot more movies, indie movies, coming out. And I think equivalent film, maybe out around a similar times, possibly Shallow Grave. It's a similar sort of setup where you've got people sharing a house, and somebody dies, and they don't call the cops.
But it lacks the political satire that this one has. Although another film that's maybe a bit more similar is Hitchcock's Rope, or came back in the 40s. That's about two people who also think that they've got the upper hand and they can kind of do the perfect murder and get away with it just because of their opinions. It's a lot more obscure than those films, and probably not as easy to come by. I think there is
No, you can get it on DVD. Here it is, but it's not widely well. If you could track it down quite easily on DVD. It's not something that I've seen shown on TV for a long time. I don't think it's streaming either anywhere that I'm aware of. It definitely could do with a special edition, tarts it up a bit, and have a few special features, particularly maybe the director and the cast looking back on it. And comparing it to how the world is now, and it's not really any different. It resonates, quite well with how things are at the moment. With extreme left and extreme right, and that's basically what this film tackles. So if anyone wants to do a Blu-ray, you've got two customers right here.
Yeah, certainly. So that's The Last Supper, and if you liked the film, if you've seen the film, let us know. We'd like to hear what you think of it.
Definitely.
Give us a like or a dislike, or
a share or subscribe. But main thing is thanks for watching. I appreciate every view.
We do indeed. So that's it for this time, and we shall see you next time.
Bye for now.